Hello and welcome back. All right, so in this lesson, I want to share with you how you can process your images from Adobe Bridge. And this will allow you to select photos within Bridge and then have them processed in Photoshop. Plus, I'm going to share one of my favorite scripts, which is the Dr. Brown script. First, let's talk about batch processing and image processing. So batch processing will allow you to run an action on multiple photos within a folder of your choice. First, you would select your photos within Bridge, run the batch process dialog box, and then you can tell Photoshop that you want to run a certain action on all the files that you've selected. Now, this greatly increases your productivity. Instead of having to do them one at a time, within Bridge, we can do as many as we want. Then we also have image processing, which is the same concept, but it does give you another option, which would allow you to resize your photos and save in different formats. So let's go over both of those, and then I'll show you how to set all of this up and get it started. So if you want to follow along, go ahead and open up Bridge, navigate to a folder, and select a multiple of different files. Once you have all those selected, we're going to go up to Tools and select Photoshop. Then you're going to click on Batch. Once you click on Batch, you are then taken to Adobe Photoshop with the Batch dialog box. Okay, so once you have that, go over here to the left and you'll find your play options for your actions. First, you need to select which set of actions you want to access, and then you need to select a specific action within that set that you want to run on your files. Then you have some options down here to select as well, but we're going to go ahead and leave those unchecked for now. Errors simply means if there's an error in your action, it's going to stop and ask you what you want to do next. Then you need to let Photoshop know where you want to save this new file. If you select none, then the file will stay open within Photoshop, and then you're going to have to manually save the file, or you can choose save and close. But if you do this option, and if you save it with the same file extension, it's going to overwrite your original image. So instead of doing that, what I usually do is I just select folder, and then I can choose where I want to save that folder. Typically, I'm going to save it in the same folder as the original images, and that just gives me easy access to both. And then I'll give that folder a new name, like batch processed or edited, or maybe I'll just name the folder the name of the action used. Okay, so then your final option is to either rename the files, or you can keep the name of your file as is. Next, you need to decide if you want to rename the files during the batch process, and typically I don't, so I'll just leave this option unchecked. Then down here, we need to make sure that compatibility is set for Unix, Windows, and for Mac, and this ensures that your file names are compatible with the different operating systems. So once you have all of your options selected, just click on OK, and then Photoshop will do its magic and apply that action to all the files selected in Adobe Bridge. All right, let's go back to Bridge and take a look at the image processor within it. So let's go ahead and make sure we have some photos selected, then go up to Tools, back down to Photoshop, and this time select Image Processor. Once you select that, you're then taken back to Photoshop. So from here, you have some options to resize your photos, or you can run actions from here as well, or you can do both. So let's say you want to resize some files and you want to post them somewhere online, like Facebook. You can resize them to 1000 pixels wide, and then you can save them as a JPEG file or a PSD file or whatever extension that you want to use for that particular file. And then again, just like before, instead of saving in the same folder location, I would recommend selecting a new folder and creating that folder to save those images in. And then if you want to run an action, you can also run an action as well. But since we've already done that, let's go ahead and skip that. So once you have all those selected, click Run. Photoshop will then go ahead and open all the images, resize the photos, and then save them to the folder location that you chose. And then that's it. Your images are resized. Now, although Adobe Photoshop and Bridge do have an image processor already built in, there is a script that I use that I highly recommend because it gives you more options and more features not available in Bridge, and the name of that script is the Dr. Brown's Services script. So in order to download and install, you're going to have to go to Dr. Brown's website, which is russellbrown.com/scripts.html. So the first thing you're going to notice is this site looks pretty old and it hasn't really been updated in a long time. But he does have updates to his scripts and his plugins, and they are open source as well, so others can come in and reprogram them as needed and then offer them as well. So you just need to scroll down and locate the Photoshop version that you have. You can either do CS6 or CC, and I'm not really sure if he supports older versions at this time. In fact, he doesn't provide a whole lot of support with these either because this is a free script. And if you look up here, it says, please read me first. And he goes on explaining why he's not able to answer support questions. But personally, I've never really had any problems with the script. It's always worked for me, and I've been using them for about 10 years. So you shouldn't really have a problem with them. If you do, you can still contact him for support, but I wouldn't expect an answer right away. So the file that you want to actually download is this one here. It says Dr. Brown's Services Installer. So just go ahead and click right here to download it. And then once you have it downloaded and you unzip the file, you're going to go in and you're going to find a few different files here. And it says installation README. So make sure you go through and read this. And then once you do that, all you have to do is double click on this little icon right here. It says Services Installer. Or if you need to set it up manually, you can use the files in here. And the instructions for installing it is included right here in this PDF file. So I'm not going to go through that and show you how to do that because all that information is already here in the files that you downloaded. All right, so let me show you this particular script, how it works, and why I like this one versus the options in Adobe Bridge. So let's go ahead and select some photos. Then we're going to go up to Tools, scroll down, and you're going to see Dr. Brown Services, and then the version that you downloaded and installed. It might be different from what I have, which is fine. If you're not seeing this, it's because you may need to restart Adobe Bridge. So if you're not seeing that, go ahead and restart. Then to get it started, you're going to go ahead and select Image Processor Pro, and you're going to go to Photoshop, and you're going to get this Image Processor Pro dialog box. So from here, it's telling you it's going to process the files that you selected from Bridge and how many files you selected. You then need to tell it where to save the processed images, either in the same location, in a subfolder, or keep the same folder structure. And you can also choose that folder location right here if you're not going to save in the same location. Now here's why I like this processor versus what's available in Bridge, and it's right here, the file types. So right now, it looks pretty simple. I can save the file with a file type of my choice, GIF, JPEG, PSD, so there's definitely more options here, and I can also designate it to be saved for the web, which is set to the default value of 72 pixels per inch, or I can come over here and resize the fit via the width and the height here, as well as pixels, inches, centimeters, millimeters, or whatever I want. And I can also scale based on these different options here. We're not going to go into great detail about that, but you do have other options to scale your photos up higher. We also can select output profiles for our color workspace and our color workflow. You can also select to run an action via this option here, and you can also rename. And you can also place some copyright information in there as well if you want to do that, if you didn't make that copyright preset that we talked about earlier. Now, so far you're probably wondering what's different about this versus what I've already shown you previously in this lesson. Well, it's right here. We have a little plus icon to create a new set. So now I can create another set of criteria to save these images to. So I could have the first set saved for Facebook at, let's say, 1,000 pixels wide. Then I can save another set of GIF files if I want, or PSD, or TIFF, or PNG. And I can save those at 5,000 pixels wide with a resolution of 300. I can then create another criteria of images to be saved as PSD files at 300 dpi with a different set of actions, because I don't need to use the same action for all 3 sets. So maybe I have an action that I like for color photos, and I also like to convert my images to black and white, and I have another action for that. Well, I can set both actions up and create new subfolders for that set of new images. I can do color here, I can do black and white here, and then select those different actions via this drop-down menu here, and then allow Photoshop to process both sets or 3 sets or 5 sets or however many sets of images I want to save to versus the one that I can only do in Adobe Bridge via its image processor. So you can definitely streamline your workflow if you create multiple sets of images based on different projects or the type of artwork that you want to create. So that's it for the Adobe Bridge processor and the Dr. Brown Services plugin. Go ahead and download that, get it installed, and go ahead and play around with it to see how you can use that for your own personal workflow. And speaking of, in the next lesson, I'm going to share with you my own personal workflow that I use in Adobe Bridge.